It's always fascinating to me when somebody has an intuition about how the world works, from a scientific perspective. And then 100 years later, this person's intuition is proven correct by science. One example is William James, a philosopher and psychologist from 100 years ago, considered the father of American psychology. He had this intuition about the nature of self-awareness, about the nature of free will, about the nature of agency. And his theory was, when we are born, we don't have any self-awareness. We don't have any consciousness because we don't have any experience. So what happens is you go out into the world, you experiment in the world, and you get data from the world. You get feedback based on how you interacted with the world. And that feedback creates memories. This happens for a couple of years until you build up a big enough window where you start to go into the world and you start to feel familiarity based on what you anticipate will happen compared to what you remember happening in similar situations in the past. And the bigger this two-sided window gets, the bigger you can start to look into the future and kind of have a memory of what kind of happened before based on similar situations. And this kind of can guide your experimentation. Once this window gets big enough, that's where self-awareness comes from. That's where consciousness comes from. That's where this idea of free will and agency come from. And this is exactly what modern neurology is finding. Based on the latest psychological, neurological experiments, this is exactly what our agency is. Our agency is a tool so that we can look into the future, so that you can look into the future and have an idea of what you want to happen based on your past. You look into the future, you have all of these potential outcomes that could happen. This fires up all your memories of all the things that have happened in the past, and then you sort through these memories and you find the best ones, and this drives a hopeful anticipation of what might happen in the future. And this free will, the stronger your sense of free will, the more motivated you'll be to move into the future and to gain experimental evidence to increase your skills. And the stronger your sense of agency is, the bigger this two-sided window will be, the bigger your working memory will be. And this is exactly what agency is. Agency is an evolutionary evolved brain function that is driven or drives you to do experiments in the world. It drives you to gain experimental data from the world to gain more skills, which basically says the only way to learn new skills is to go out into the world and do experiments in the world based on how you behave in the world, experimentally accept all the feedback that comes back. That will feed into your memory system, and this will create skills. This is also the opposite of learned helplessness, where you kind of give up your sense of agency, where you don't feel you have a sense of agency, and you just accept your state in life, and you don't get any more data, which means you don't learn any more skills, which is why this is called learned helplessness. You're essentially stuck. But the stronger your sense of agency is, the stronger you feel in control of your life, the more willing you'll be to get out into the world and get experimental data that will continuously build your skill set. But here's the cool part. You don't have to actually do this in the world. You can do this in your imagination. They've done plenty of experiments where they have 3 different groups of people. One group practices some kind of a sport in real life. Another group practices that same sport, but only in their imagination. And a third group doesn't practice at all. But the second group that only practice in their imagination, they improved just as much as the group that practiced in real life, which means you can practice certain skills in your imagination and develop a real world skill increase. So when you do enter into the world, you will have a significantly increased level of skills. And one way that they're finding you can do this is with how you speak to people, how you talk to people. It's one thing to have kind of a vague imagination of getting a positive outcome, but it's another thing completely to, in your mind, practice real world language patterns, practice hypnotic language patterns. So when you go out into the world, you can become more persuasive. You can become more seductive. You can become more hypnotic. And this is similar to practicing algebra. You sit down at home with an algebra book, you look at the problems, you practice writing out the problems, you practice solving the problems, and the more you do this, the more you'll be able to develop an algebra brain, an algebra skill set brain. This is how Isaac Newton discovered the secrets of the universe, simply by doing experiments in his own mind and gaming them out with mathematical equations and algebraic equations. This is how he invented calculus in the experimental laboratory of his mind. And you can do the same thing with social skills. Just like it's been proven that you can improve your sports skills in your imagination, you can improve your social skills in your imagination so long as you combine this with language patterns, just like algebraic equations, and write out these language patterns on a daily basis. If you made the decision, if you were to make the decision now to practice language patterns by writing out hypnotic language patterns and then practicing these in your mind with people in imaginary conversations, you will improve your ability to persuade people in the real world. You will improve your ability to seduce people in the real world. You will improve your seduction confidence. You will improve your hypnotic confidence, because the more you practice in your mind talking to real people and real situations and gaming out all the different permutations of what you can say, what they can say, the kind of hypnotic language patterns you can use in response to what they can say, and this will slowly and consistently improve your persuasion skills and improve your persuasion confidence. This is a mind-blowing experimental evidence that says that you can improve your social skills without really needing to get out into the world. You can do this only in your imagination. So when you are ready to get out into the world, when you do have the confidence to get out into the world, you will be a massively seductive conversationalist, a massively persuasive conversationalist, a massively hypnotic conversationalist. All it takes is you make the decision to practice in your mind. Now, granted, this is not easy. This is just as mentally difficult as it is to practice algebra equations. It's not as easy as just kind of having a vague fantasy that runs on its own. You actually have to deliberately practice patterns, deliberately practice conversations, just like you would deliberately practice algebra equations. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to put in the effort, you will get the magnificent rewards that will gain you a lot of money and a lot of sexual abundance. If you'd like to learn more, check out the links below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.